Welcome to the new set.
Ladies and gentlemen, mech warriors of all ages, mech fans around the world and the inner sphere, live from NGNG Studios, it's the Backer Mission Livestream #1, featuring from Harebrained Schemes, Jordan Wiseman, Mitch Gittleman, and soon, I think, Mike McCain. I am Darren from NoGutsNoGalaxy. There he is. There's Mike. I'm Darren from NoGutsNoGalaxy. I'm joined by Phil today. Phil, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, man?
Hey, Phil.
Very good.
Hey, everyone.
Hey,
morning,
everybody.
morning.
Darren.
Coffee?
Morning, Kickstarter. Battletech fans.
Good evening, Europe.
Yes, Europe, Australia, North America. Welcome, everybody. We've all got our coffee. No excuses. Everybody's awake now, right?
Well, yeah, as much as
There
we
was
can
coffee?
be, after.
McCain, did you suck down some coffee, I hope?
A little bit.
All right.
Enough.
Your eyes are open. We're good.
We're caffeinated, ready to go.
You guys have had an exciting few days. Just a few little stats I want to touch on really quick here. In your first hour with PayPal, you reached your initial funding goal. In the first day, including PayPal, you reached 1 million in funding and 10,000 backers. And now backers. And now just a few days in, you're at over 1.3 million, 20,000 backers. How does it feel, guys?
Can't say thank you enough.
Oh my God, yeah. That's just the response to the product overall, to bringing up Battletech, and to the crazy idea he had about Alpha Strike has just been overwhelming. It's been fantastic.
I think it requires one of these.
It's a big heart, yeah. And I think one of the things we went through this a little bit with Shadowrun when we did Shadowrun Returns all those years ago, but it's so much more than just giving us the funds to make a game. Just the whole ability, the whole conversation of interacting with fans about their relationships with these characters and this universe and the game and the memories it's made for them and the friends it's made for them. It's just, enormously impactful on all of us. It's enormous. It's really emotional. It really is, because
It connects us all without a doubt. It's awesome.
So that's been fantastic.
Well, I would say that the fans set a mandate. It is time for this project, and we want more Battletech in our lives. Mike, specifically with you, here's another successful Kickstarter from you guys. You guys have an incredible record with Kickstarter. How are you feeling right now, Mike? Are you, because of where the funding is at now, are you starting to move ahead in your mind to the work that is ahead of you? How much work do you have ahead of you?
There's plenty of work ahead of us. We were just sort of getting back into talking more about the game yesterday. It's definitely been a busy week. And I think one of the things definitely that I always feel, and I think it's probably true for all of us to some extent, is there's a little bit of stage fright and anxiety kind of going out there with the big Kickstarter page, and we spent a lot of time trying to make sure that we were communicating the right vision for the game, both in the art and in the page itself and the video. So there's a sense of, I guess, just gratification that all has done well, and that message has really reached you guys. So I'm feeling very very grateful, very excited for this next phase, and to get this opportunity to make the kind of game that I did always kind of hope I would have the opportunity to make as a kid, and then also slightly tired.
But
I'm sure.
it was great. Yesterday we had a good long 4-hour design meeting, and so it's great to be focusing on back on the product, because obviously to prepare for the Kickstarter was a fair amount of work by itself, which now that it's off and running, we're able to get back to the product to a large extent, and also, as we said, a lot of it is understanding the scope of the game we're going to make, and we're starting to get a better idea of that scope as the campaign progresses, and that really helps us, do better planning.
One thing I'd like to point out, because I got a lot of feedback from people within the community as well as people from without the community, people that maybe aren't familiar with Kickstarter, some people that are. You guys put on a hell of a Kickstarter campaign. I just heard compliment after compliment with the missions. I mean, the reason we're here right now is a backer mission.
Absolutely.
But these backer
Yeah,
missions
we're
just
getting a
keep-
little scared for our beards. I got to be honest.
What do you mean weak, Himosabi?
I mean, he's been talking about he's afraid to lose his beard. My beard is older than he is.
That's
Okay.
right. Huh?
And I'm
I've actually never seen you without your beard.
no, it's only been once in the last 35 years
Wow.
for like 1 week. So yeah, we're getting nervous about that.
Well, I can share that feeling, no doubt about it. But yeah, I mean, just an amazing job with all these missions, things like the Battletech memories that you guys did. I mean, I'm sure you guys read through just some amazing memories
yeah.
from young
Yeah.
from girls who remember sitting on their dad's lap and playing MechWarrior 2 to some of us older guys who remember stuff from the mid 80s and so forth. Amazing memories from around the
Yeah.
community.
Oh, and thanks for sharing yours, by the way. We listened to it the other day. And the idea that, you know, one of your favorite Battletech memories is actually very recent, and it's about, you know, helping a sick kid, you know, very cool.
Yeah,
Well,
the stories were so that's what I'm talking about. It's such an emotional experience
And
because
personal.
yeah, stories are so touching and so different, you know, and which is fantastic. And we see that reflected in the backers too. So many of our backers are some are very experienced Kickstarter backers, and so many are brand new. I mean, they're here because of Battletech,
Yeah.
not you know, kind of part of the up to now, not part of the kind of Kickstarter ecosystem, you know. And so it's just been amazing to see all those stories, and we're excited to see what comes next. We have some fun ideas for well, you know, what the future backer challenges are, and they are all hopefully allowing us to express our passions for the universe and our history with it in different ways.
Yeah, my excitement from this game from day one and all the way till now and into the future has always been the community. My community when I first started obviously was a group of friends that I sat around the table and played with, which obviously has expanded to a much larger base now of people. The community just blows me away. And yeah, I'm very excited about that, bringing another Battletech project to this community. But speaking of this project, what is going on behind the scenes now? You've got quite a crew there at Hairbrained. What are they doing? What are you tasking them with? What are the different departments that are going to get underway now?
Well, we keep it small in pre-production. I think Mike touched on that before. You want to keep it really tight so that they really have a chance to gel their ideas without having to manage a bunch of people, right?
Yeah,
Just
so
thought I'd start us off.
Yeah, pre-production team at the moment is our lead engineer Chris, who you heard referred to off screen last time, and Garrett. And so the the engineers have been working on prototypes of different parts of the system that we basically are prototyping in what we call throwaway code. I mean, they're just quick prototypes to allow us to see the fun factor related to different parts of the system before we go and you know, kind of build a larger design around them. We're kind of just finding the atomic fun parts of different parts of it, and so they're working on that. And then he'll be now building from there, and now that we have a better understanding of scope as we're moving through the Kickstarter, Chris will be spinning off to work more on technical documentation, laying all the architecture out for the system, while Garrett will continue to work on prototype development. Mike's got 3 artists on the team and 1 graphic designer. Why don't you talk about what they're working on?
Yeah, so obviously until just a few days ago, we were working pretty hard on the initial package of concept art, which really serves to inform not only the Kickstarter but the tone that we want to set.
Well, wait, I just
for
want to
the
add in
world.
there real fast. Inform and inspire, right?
Yeah.
Seriously, because I've been making
inspired.
it's been, yeah, I know you say that, but this is the most inspired concept I've ever personally worked with.
Oh,
And
thanks.
no kidding. And my passion for Battletech ramped up during this. So I just want to point that out. I love this stuff.
Can I add to that from an outside perspective, specifically regarding the artwork that you guys are doing? Amazing. Like Phil and I use the term mech porn often, and you guys are just literally hitting it out of the ballpark. The images you guys are bringing up, I mean, it just screams Battletech, not just giant stompy mechs, but the whole Battletech experience. Are we going to see more artwork from you over the coming weeks, months, and so forth?
You will. Yeah, no, and thanks for that. It's been, you know, obviously got to give a big shout out to Alex and the team at Piranha for all those awesome mech designs. It's building on the shoulders of literally giants. Giants. Sorry. and so that's been really fun.
And your team, Joel and Jen.
Joel and Jen and Maury have just knocked it out of the park here on the sort of visual exploration for the world. We had a nice shout out on Kotaku a couple days ago, which was really cool to see. And moving forward, we're starting to think about, well, how do we translate this into 3D, into Unity? We've got a lot of really great tools to play with in Unity, physically based rendering, and got a much
Shader
expanded
control,
particle system. So we're diving into that, and we're also continuing to illustrate the world and look at new things in it. One of the things that we're just starting to do concept art for is Solaris 7, kind of in anticipation of if we get close to this next stage here.
Knock on wood.
We're hopeful to be able to show some art around that and figure out what that looks like in our world. So just really moving forward.
Actually, we're going to share a new piece that Joel did later today as part of an update as we are talking more about what the expanded mercenary campaign is and how contract negotiations, exploring our ideas and contract negotiations and all that kind of wonderful Machiavellian politics that kind of result in economics. And so that'll be a piece that'll come out later today, an update.
And I'll just say the last sort of maybe the third sort of area of development that is moving forward is a good deal of technical documentation and scheduling and production, right? As we're able to hone in on, well, what is in this game, we can make a more concrete plan for how that's going to play out. And actually, there is a fourth area of work too, even though this is a small team. And that is the Kickstarter. Mitch has been in the comments every day, all day. I'm sure you've seen him just tirelessly answering
I don't
questions.
know about tirelessly.
Or so it would seem.
That's what the coffee's for.
I fall asleep.
Fair. Anyways, so not to underemphasize that, we're still committed to an engaged and ongoing campaign for the next 30 days.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's joyous work.
All right, guys, before we move on to the actually live Q&A part, so as you guys move forward, and maybe some people out there aren't used to your guys' workflow on Kickstarter, are they going to be able to see updates, throughout this process that you guys developed the game and, obviously concept art, but maybe videos and stuff, are they going to be able to see this process that you guys go through, either through video or audio engagement and stuff like that?
Sort of, yeah. We won't exactly give you TikTok progress reports on our pre-production. We like to just sort of not turn that into performance art so that the team can focus on what they're doing without worrying about showing stuff. We will occasionally surface things like Jordan was just saying about new explorations about the contract development, etc. But we also, one of the things we love about Kickstarter is the ability to share not just the process of what we're doing, but just in general, the game development process, which a lot of people, I think, back Kickstarters because they enjoy seeing this behind the curtains sort of thing. So we'll show you behind the curtains. We'll introduce you to different team members who will talk about what they do for a living, that sort of stuff.
But that doesn't just end at the end of the Kickstarter. I think people who have backed us in Shadowrun projects or Golem Arcana can attest to the fact that it's all through development. All the way up into the game comes out, and usually for a fair chunk after the game comes out, we do regular updates. Keeping people abreast of the development of the game. Of choices that have been made, things that have panned out well, things that have not panned out well, and left turns we had to make based upon what was discovered. We kind of show it warts and all the way through the process. I mean, it's not a documentary, right? It's not like like the incredible Tim's incredible documentary. It's not to that level, but it is regular updates with frank information about what we're doing, what's going on, both good and bad.
If you are curious about game development, though, those are some great documentaries. The Double Fine.
Oh yeah,
I'd recommend them.
Yeah, they're really well done.
Excellent. Well, are you guys ready to start taking some live questions?
Yes, absolutely.
We've got them rolling in.
the backers, they earned this, and now we're going to sit here and be scared of what they're going to ask.
Absolutely. Well, let's see. We'll just start from the top here. More questions are rolling in. We got some mods that are writing them down.
Let me preface, if you do have a question, make sure to tag us at NGNGTV so it's shown. And if it's been answered before, we may refer you to the facts. Or if someone else wants to sort of tell you the answer in chat, that would definitely help us speed through this process. But let it begin.
Yeah, also, speaking of the frequently asked questions, if you go to the Kickstarter page all the way down at the bottom, there they are. So hopefully the questions won't be any of those. But the first question we have here is regarding weapons and weapon manufacturers. This is from Zero Mind. Wants to know if there will be any plans to have weapons from individual manufacturers in the game.
Oh yeah.
That's our hope. Yeah. One of the things we want to do, especially in the expanded campaign. I mean, this is more in the context of the expanded campaign than the more narrow story linear campaign. But in the expanded campaign, we really want to try to bring out the concept of the economy of the inner sphere, and that includes, you know, kind of the how you negotiate contracts with the different houses and their, you know, priorities, their agendas. It also includes, you know, kind of where things are manufactured. Now there'll be a cutoff layer of detail that we don't know how far deep we can go before it just starts to become kind of overwhelming and too difficult to balance. But our goal is to be able to reflect that some things are easier to get in different parts of the inner sphere than in others, and that there's a cost modifiers associated with that.
Yeah, I got a question in the comments. It was, are you going to have a realistic economy? Like, no, the economy is not fun. Look around. No, we'll have a fun economy.
Right.
There we go.
We'll see what the Comstar Fed does.
All right, next question we have is from Katrin. I've seen this actually throughout a lot of questions, but addition of buying more or all of the patches for the Kickstarter. I want Davian and the Merrick patches, etc. And also the banners. People were asking about maybe not a house, but if you offer like mercenaries, it's out there. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah. This is something we've been debating a bunch because, you know, physical goods are something we all love. I mean, after watching the original Kickstarter video that we had, that kind of like thing from Randall, and it was in his room covered with like so many cool things. I built this little set. This is not a real office. This is I don't have an office. We all sit in a big room at a desk. But I built this because I was like, I got cool stuff. I want to show it too. So this is kind of a genned up little thing we put together. Because
Your move, Randall.
kind of go for it, Randall. Come on, up the ante. So we love physical goods, but they're also, you know, we have to watch out for this evil thing called MOQ, minimum order quantities, and shipping, and the fact that we're primarily a software company, not a physical goods company. But that said, we have heard that, and we are coming up with responses to try to help meet that goal in some way.
The main thing you need to understand is two things. One is that, like Jordan said, we're game developers, not, you know, shop clerks. So
it's something we'd love to be able to help.
We want to. But the other thing
we'll have answers next week on this topic.
Yeah.
Is really what it boils down to.
Yeah,
we're looking into it. So.
You know, we are. But like we're going to tell people is that oh, sorry about touching the table. Don't touch the table.
Don't touch the table.
You know, we have the rights to offer these physical rewards, as thank yous. What we don't have the rights to do is sell them to you. We're working on it. We want to do it. We want you to have this stuff. It's just we can't right now.
Yep, that's a fair statement, and that the
add-on,
all the
concept
stuff.
of an add-on is equivalent to selling, as opposed to a reward,
as opposed to a thank you within the reward tier. So, but we're working on all this.
Absolutely.
This
we don't have a more definitive answer as of this time.
The definitive
fan
answer
base is we're working on it hard.
We all want our physical items. We want our cartoons. We want our movies. I know how hard it is for you guys to work within the limits that are out there right now. But yeah, we will throw our money at the physical items, no doubt about it. One question that keeps coming up, and you guys already addressed this, and so if you want to move on, that's fine. But literally, it just keeps coming up and coming up. So this is from Road Beer. He wants to know about the chances of adding co-op. Everybody wants co-op. Is there, if we get you 3 million, 4 million?
So yeah, we would love co-op as well. And we, within the scope of the first game, the one we want to, build and ship, it's outside of the scope of that. But if indeed we are successful and move past the 2.5 million for multiplayer, what that additional money will go to is the funding of an ongoing live team, and that live team will then allow us to continue to develop features and content beyond the initial release. And one of the first features we would address is co-op play. Because we think there's a way to naturally fit it within the context of the skirmish game, and so it's outside the scope of what we'll ship in the first title. But if indeed funding exceeds the 2.5, then again that'll go to a live team, and the live team would highest priority be working on co-op.
Awesome.
Well,
Nick?
just real quick.
To be clear, just to set expectations on that, we're talking about co-op as a multiplayer mode. Where
Not
you
co-op
can play
campaign.
with a friend against AI for a specific map or a
Right.
specific encounter,
Yeah.
not co-op campaign play, which
Yeah.
is a much
Much
larger
bigger,
undertaking
but yeah,
that we
co-op
think is out of scope. For
co-op within the context of the skirmish, where you'll be able to design, opponents and situations and battle with them, with your friends within that.
All right, and to be clear, first of all, we appreciate you being focused and remaining on your goal. Obviously, there's not everybody loves co-op or PvP. Even there's people in chat said content and story is greater than co-op, and so we love the fact that there's going to be a single player campaign and the direction you're going with. So we appreciate that answer, and there's your answer, guys, on co-op. Phil, you got the next question?
Yes, actually, it's from IPOC77. It was just asked, but I feel like this is pertinent. He says, I can't afford $1,000, but maybe I can go midway. Is there a tier going to be added between the 275 and 1,000? Bam.
We're listening.
Yeah, don't have an answer on that yet. We haven't figured out something that makes sense.
The truth is, part of the reason is the people that would figure out how to do that are the people also doing pre-production on your game. So,
but we have heard the request, and if we can come up with something we think makes sense, we'll put it up there. But we don't want to, do something that kind of creates more troubles downstream for us or for you.
Or that just doesn't resonate, right? Like
Yeah.
we could really stretch to come up with some with fluff, so to speak. But we want to make sure that everything we are offering there feels like it has
real value.
Good value, and both for you and for the game itself. So
Yeah,
totally.
that's why it'll take us a little time to sort of think about those questions and come up with the right answers.
But
Yeah,
please,
we-
we are absolutely listening.
Yeah, we'd rather, you gave us a little less, but felt that you got, a great emotional and physical value out of it, rather than give us more and felt like we didn't deliver.
And also, and I say this in the comments all the time, but it bears repeating to this audience, focus equals quality. So the more the team can focus on the game we know we need to make and want to make, the better off everything is. If we keep adding things or adding features, because we get a lot of feature requests and stuff, the more stuff that we try and wedge into our core vision of the game, the more sort of diluted that can become. And we really want to focus on making a great game, and the game that we told you that we want to make.
By the way, we will update the FAQ later today after some of the stuff we've talked about here. So if other people are wondering, some of these same questions, we'll make sure that gets up on the FAQ today.
Sounds good. And I think, Mike, this next question is for you. This is from Lord Death Maggot. Lovely name. He wants to know.
That's awesome.
Dad!
Dad, nice. The Atlas pick shows a simplified mech bay. Is this what we should expect, or are you going to implement a full mech bay? Now, obviously, let's translate this to the other concept art as well. When we see concept art of potentially gameplay type stuff,
This
what
is
should we
specifically the
expect?
interface, right?
Yeah, but even like the top-down concept art that you show that might represent what the game's going to look like, how far should we take this concept art to be, what is actually going to be reflected in the game? Or should we just realize that this is just literally concept? So yeah, he's specifically asking about the mech bay. Is it going to be,
Sure.
more fleshed out than what we see there?
Yeah, so I guess there's a few different answers to that question. I'll start with generally, yes, it's concept art, and so we have tried to be careful about, especially with sort of the elevated camera views, labeling it as such because I think it represents a strong visual target. But we're looking at, there's two factors in actually realizing concept art on screen. One is kind of the more obvious one, which is, well, what can we do technically with the tool set? What's going to be performant in our game engine for the needs of the game? Two, the one that's kind of maybe less immediate obvious is how is this art going to best serve the game design of the title and how the game plays. And so that's the other area where, we may have some really cool visual ideas, but it's important that those ideas get iterated with the design team. Sure that art and design are really serving the game to their fullest, hand in hand, and a lot of times that actually creates even cooler visual solutions. When you can bounce those kind of things back and forth. As far as the mech bay in particular, we were looking at the idea that we're currently throwing around in house is that have a drop ship of some form housing your outfit, and that would be where your mechs are being kept in service between missions. Now, we've also talked about being able to rent out larger facilities in your adventure. This is all speculation and design documents. I'll caveat that. But especially looking at the extended campaign, you could potentially see taking your mercenary outfit to a planet with larger mech bay facilities to do a more substantial retrofitting of a chassis or something like that. So we're looking at one particular view here in our concept, trying to get that. Well, there's not a lot of excess space in a dropship thing across, but there could be a variety there.
But I think the user interface that's implied there is really just concept as well. It's not meant to be an exhaustive study of the options you'll have in the modification of your mechs.
That's a much longer process.
Yeah.
All right, next question we have is Skyfire, and he says, I know you hit the combined arms. Does this mean infantry? Infantry has always been a huge part of my Battletech games, and I feel it really adds to certain depth and tension to the match. Basically, what are the chances of seeing infantry?
Oh, check the fact. I actually had it on there in two different sections, and somebody called me on it. But please answer the question.
I mean, the chances are fairly good, I would say. It's something we want.
Yeah.
But the main thing with infantry is that we want to prototype that play to make sure that it's a fun part of the Battlefield experience. And until we're a little bit further along in pre-production, it's not something we want to commit to until we've proven.
And where that ties in is things like, what's our solution for targeting, right? I mean, we don't want you laboriously having to target every single infantryman running around the field, things like
Just
that.
step on it. It should be fine.
Yeah, so it is something that we're optimistic about. We want to see happen, but we just want to get kind of the core game loop down and then figure out how infantry fits in there in which way. Is it slightly abstracted as a squad as opposed to individual infantrymen or things like that?
If I had to hazard a guess, I think where we're thinking is that there'd be sort of potentially a more cosmetic layer of infantry, and then specifically like anti-tank and anti-armor units that would be targetable and pose a threat on the battlefield.
All right, next question is from Void2258. And his question is, how are you handling customizability? Customization. How are you handling customization? One thing that has gotten multiple mech games in trouble in the past is making IS mechs so customizable that stock mechs become worthless and Omni mechs become redundant. How will you control the customization and balance? Yeah.
Let me add to that
there's an easy
question.
answer.
Let me just add to the question too,
Mhm.
because there's a subtlety to it, which is what you want to do, especially with the IS mechs, is maintain their identity, right? So, okay, there you are. Good luck.
Yeah.
The easy part is we don't have Omnimex, so we don't have to worry about that.
So that part's good for the start, but we want to kind of design thinking about where they'll come in hopeful future games. I think our rather than say what the solutions are, what our goals are, is that we want the mechs to maintain their personality. That's part of, I think they are characters in the world, and if you just turn them into kind of generic weapon platforms, that can be anything, then you lose both kind of battlefield intelligence. You lose, you've lost characters from the world, right?
Talk about battlefield intelligence for 1 minute. That's a great point.
I mean, one of the key things, Battletech is just tons and tons of information. And so if I see, an Atlas on the field, I should be able to kind of, just from my previous experience with Atlases, have a reasonably good idea of what its capabilities are. Because otherwise, if I don't, then I have this like, oh, wait, stop. I have to study this thing complete depth because I don't know what this thing could be. All I know is
it's just a piece of art.
It's just big. That's all I know, right? I mean, I know it's 100 tons and I know nothing else about it. We don't want to go there. We want to be that, like, if it's an Atlas, I know it's an Atlas. That gives me some parameters around what could be inside there. I don't expect to see, that Atlas jump. I don't expect to see that Atlas, fleet of foot, and so we want, that's our goal, is to be able to maintain identity. Now, within that, we want as much flexibility as we can give you without the loss of identity. And where is the specific balance point between those two yet? We don't know. We're not that far into design. Obviously, we've tackled this many different ways over the years, and we don't know yet what's the right way to tackle it for this one. And we won't, frankly, until we get farther into our core combat loop, which is what we're doing a lot of experimentation with now. So that's why I wanted to say, well, the answer is we can define our goals rather than the specific solutions yet.
Yeah, that's always been a challenge, I feel, with BattleTech. Here's another humanoid battle mech. So what makes it distinct and unique? And of course, those of us that grew up with the novels and so forth, we create identities for each chassis, and they're very unique to us. So that's great that you guys are going for that goal as well. Phil, you got the next question?
Yes, actually, the Beef asks, did they talk about community voices? And I think it was referred to like the Mech Commander videos, with Rooster and all those guys. Have you guys looked into that?
Yeah. So this is Battlefield emotes.
The emotes.
Yeah, that was actually. I thought is that actually in the description of?
I think it is. But let's talk about it. So we definitely want to do that, right? So we're very close to hitting, or may have already hit, because when we're on here, the voice acting goal, and so, which is awesome. And that's going to add one of the components of that will be MechWarrior responses, like what Rooster did. In this game, because there's, especially now, if we are lucky enough to open up the extended campaign, in that one, there's going to be a lot of MechWarriors that you're going to encounter, and every one of them won't have a completely unique voice. So because that would just be zillion, hopefully hundreds of different voices, which we can't afford to do. But we'll have our goal is to have a wide selection of voices, and then empower you to assign. Like when you hire a new MechWarrior, you could assign which voice you want that MechWarrior to be using, so you can keep the diversity within your team. I think that's something you were feeling strongly about.
Yeah, it's something that XCOM and even going back to Baldur's Gate and that have done really well, is just imbue your characters with personality, and not only that, but provide that communication on the battlefield.
More persistent, recurrent story characters would, of course, have a consistent and unique voice all the way through.
So,
but not every single character in the game will talk.
So follow up to this would be, would you guys be willing to possibly just have a community, as far as like submissions with those, is where you guys give it a script and say, hey, we'd love to hear a lot of you guys, and they just submit it. Would you guys be open to that?
We haven't thought about that yet.
Loaded question.
I've thought about that. Are you kidding? I've thought about that.
All right, well then speak about that.
There's a lot of talent out in this community, no doubt.
That's a lot of stuff to go through. We'll consider it. I would say for right now, don't expect it. Because we just don't have the manpower to go through all that stuff.
I like your guys' answers. Just saying.
All right. Did you have more there, Mitch? Or?
No, that's I don't know. Does anybody want to hear Dagger's voice?
Yes.
Ask the crowd.
Yes. #Dagger.
Hey, Dagger. No. Dagger's a voice actor.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Dagger's not going to be visible. All right, so Dagger's got a couple of things that she's going to say her battlefield emotes. And let them hear you. All right?
Ready?
Awesome.
Yeah, all right, here we go.
Okay,
You're
here we
still
go.
off screen.
My paper's on screen.
Yeah.
I'm in a minefield. How's that?
That's the
Was
audience,
that the
not
first
us.
take? Was that good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll get to call that a take. Next.
Okay. I'm taking fire.
She's been practicing. All
I
right.
haven't. This is.
For 15 years.
That's right. Every day.
Yeah.
She's been waiting to reprise her role.
Yeah. I should have started with this one though.
Yeah.
This is Dagger.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Who doesn't remember that, right? Look at the chat. The chat is lighting up.
Last emote here, right?
Last one. Ready? Here it comes. Ejecting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I heard that one too often.
I like how it was like really business-like. It's not like I'm in a thing that's blowing up. It's just like calm business.
Yeah, that's
I'm
what
ejecting.
you.
Well, of
I'm just-
course.
yeah.
She's a professional.
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely.
Thank you, Dagger.
Thank you, Dagger.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, the chat was having fun with that. Thank you, Dagger. And hopefully she will reprise her role or another role.
We'll see. Hashtag who is Dagger, I think, is floating around. Some people have been guessing who Dagger is.
All right. Next question is from Cal Ryan. It says, a question for Mitch from Ryan Bullock. Mitch, last
Oh, hey,
night
Ryan.
you alluded to the possibility of paid tournaments. Can you elaborate on that possibility? I, for one, would love it.
What it was, that was in context of the idea that, you know, there isn't a sort of a microtransaction sort of element like to our PvP multiplayer. I got a lot of comments on the comments page saying, you know, I don't want to have people whipping out their credit cards to one-up me in multiplayer. My response to that was, you know, this is a premium price game. You pay once for the game, right? And then you can play the game, you know, single player and multiplayer without an added charge. And one day in the future, we might, you know, charge for individual specific tournaments. I know Jordan was into that idea.
Well, it is something along the line of like a Hearthstone model. You know, that there's a specific style of event that might have a small charge to get involved with, and you know, has the opportunity to win prizes. You know, from the tournament on the back end of gear you can use on your Mac.
Right, but we're nowhere near that.
Yeah, these are just rough ideas of where we might be, you know, a year and a half from now.
Yeah,
Hopes
but it was
and
just
dreams.
a hypothetical, really, about we're not going to charge you. The only way we would charge you in the future is for a very specific thing like that is completely egalitarian to everybody, and there's no sort of pay-to-win model.
That
Excellent.
would be an additional to standard multiplayer matchmaking.
absolutely. It's not
standard.
yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
I want to call up my friend to play a game.
Yeah, that's not
Absolutely.
in lieu of you know, regular social matchmaking or friend invite multiplayer.
One price.
In addition to.
Our next question we have is from Catcher, and he says, I've always been a fan of the live action cutscenes, something I've recently been missing from video games more and more. Have you considered ever doing simple or single actor live action scenes such as the mission briefings from Mech Commander?
Well, Mitch has got a good Stannis Baratheon look going, so
So
All right, no.
we've
I'm asking for it. Huh?
Mitch and I have done many of those over the
Yes.
years in lots of games, and the answer is we aren't doing those here.
That's right.
I think Chris Roberts is soaking up all the full motion video energy in the world.
Enjoy that,
for
Chris.
that. And so yeah, no, it's really kind of out of to do those well is very expensive. To do them cheesy is very cheap.
Yeah, I've done that.
And we would prefer, since we can't afford to really do them well, right? We would prefer to kind of use what we call, you know, the theater of the mind and deal with words and pictures, which we think we can get a much more evocative.
Well, now we might get voice acting by
and
the end
voice.
of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've already unlocked cinematics too,
Yeah.
so we will have
But-
renditions of things.
But from a production point of view, I just want to point out, here's one of the reasons why live action isn't such a great idea. It's very possible, late in development, one of the three of us or one of our writing team will come up with something awesome, right? And we will get locked into these full motion videos, and
yeah, they're very
the room for
constrained.
that late creativity doesn't exist. You could do a late voiceover and drop it in, something like that, but you can't go back to the set and dress everybody.
Yeah,
right?
they're very constraining. And also in an open-ended campaign, which is hopefully where we're moving towards, you can't keep going back on set and recording more and more of them, you know. So we want to be able to have that flexibility to take the story and really be very broad and wide as it reflects what you want to do as a mercenary within the Inner Sphere.
But making those is fun as hell.
Oh yeah, no, look, we all dream about being, Spielbergs. And
The
so
Mech Commander
it's
2
fun, they're
videos
fun.
were actually shot in the soundstage where Charlie Chaplin used to do his movies, right? Which was awesome. The problem also with that, real fast, is that it was also set up not for sound because they were silent.
Right.
So every time a car would drive by, somebody would yell "cut." So it took a while.
I remember that studio.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think
SNA.
I'm the only one that would like to see you three in neuro helmets and in front of a green screen. Maybe someday, just for fun.
I think we should turn McCain into an action star.
There it comes.
There
He's
we
the
go.
new Shia LaBeouf.
Ooh.
Oh,
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 that
God.
hurt.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
you
yeah.
went first, pal.
There.
All right, next question is from Demonicky. He asks, is it possible to melee kill sync moves? Example, in XCOM, enemy within the unit sometimes have unique kill animations. Can we see these in game?
Oh, McCain.
That would be lovely. We'll see where we go with sort of how actions play out in the game and
Glory
where
cam
our
and stuff.
budget goes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it'd be cool.
damn cool.
Is there any way, speaking of Unity 5 and where this game is going, can you describe in any sort of detail what combat might look like? Obviously you have nothing in stone, but theoretically, what we might see? Or is it too early? If it's too early, that's fine. I understand.
Visually, I guess
I'm
I'll
letting him
speak.
talk, because if I talk, he's gonna hit me.
Yeah.
He's gonna hit me.
I'll speak in terms of goals and sort of our design philosophy here. I'll start visually. We want the battlefield experience to be as visceral as we can make it. We want things blowing up. We want bushes getting trampled over. We want mechs to have that sort of scale to their movement, right? Like it's a very, very different movement style and therefore, to some extent gameplay style than a game like XCOM or Shadowrun.
Exactly.
A mech takes time to move, and a punch is going to be a really heavy thing. The camera, from my point of view, should shake often, even if it's just a little bit, to kind of always be conveying that scale. As far as literally how it will look. As far as how to play, again, we are really passionate about crafting a battlefield experience that can be played in roughly 30 minutes. Not that a more complex engagement might not take longer, but just, we think that is a good play cycle for a lot of strategic depth, but to also keep you moving forward from mission to mission, because the metagame of especially the open campaign that we're hoping for here is very much about that cycle of I go on a mission, now get me back so I can play with my cool toys. I got all this cool new salvage. I want to be able to configure it, find some new missions, and kind of just keep on going through that cycle rather than be stuck in a battlefield grind for hours at a time. So towards that end, we want to keep turns reasonably short, and that's also part of where the sort of the philosophy of commanding only a lance of 4-ish on the battlefield comes from, is we think that's a good tight fun play cycles.
One of the challenges in Battletech, especially in turn-based Battletech, is to convey the kinetics of the world, right? Unlike XCOM, where you move a guy and he runs and he hides behind cover and he stands still, so it's natural that he's standing still. Mechs tend to stay in motion, right? They don't. It's not like at the end of every movement spurt they stop and they're standing still. No, they're moving at 60 kph and they don't instantly stop. And so it's one of the things we're really trying to figure out how we can convey is that dynamic motion all the time, rather than everybody is kind of advancing cover to cover to cover, which is more natural in a game like Shadowrun or in XCOM, but less natural in Battletech. So it's one of the central challenges we're really doing a lot of experimentation about here in the early days to see if we can figure out a way to convey that in a turn base.
As a player, I think that's really cool, by the way.
Next question we have is from Alexander GRC, and he says, friendly AI units in skirmish mode?
Yeah, allies.
Yeah, Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The trick for us is to make sure that the AI is smart enough that you aren't frustrated with them, right? Because I mean, there is like mentally, there's an entirely different kind of perception when I'm fighting opponents versus when they're on my team, and like the bar gets dramatically raised when they're on my team.
When an enemy is stupid, you kill him and feel good.
Yeah, you know, you're more patient when all of a sudden you're relying on them. That AI has to be even better.
And not just better, but there's actually some different behavior that you would
Mhm.
expect. You know, it's a slightly different design space,
Right.
but it would be interesting.
Yeah,
So-
so it's certainly something we have a goal for.
All right, I've got 2 questions regarding artwork. One is real quick, and this again, you know, this ties in with the concept art that you've been putting out. Like you were saying, it's inspirational. I think it's making a lot of us feel our inner mech warrior and taking us back. It's got that total Battletech feeling. But
Awesome.
people want them on their desktops. So is there any way to get more of the artwork at desktop resolution so people can have it all over their computers?
You know, actually, everything on the Kickstarter page should be hyperlinked out to an image on Amazon. That's,
Just click it.
1920 by 1080. So
Okay,
and
I don't
they're
know if
all
he was
kinda
referring to larger than 1080, but yeah.
Untarnished. I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't know if he was
Oh,
referring
sorry, I
to.
missed your.
Yeah. I don't know if he was referring to larger resolutions than 1080, but yeah, I do have all of them in 1080 myself, and that is great. So I think that's what he was getting at, just more people wanting more art from you guys. Along the lines, again, of the artwork, Beamer127 asks, what art direction are you taking? Can we expect kind of the cartoony feel of Shadowrun or something a little darker and more realistic for Battletech?
You know, we're definitely trying to ground the world as much as possible, and I think that's kind of some of the philosophy that I hope is showing through in the art we've released so far. Not only looking at how do we hero these mechs, but also how do we contextualize the world that they exist in, right? With tanks and sort of relatively Earth-like environments, and then also, of course, looking at the mech warriors themselves and the equipment that they use and the places that they live, the sort of fighter jockey style that they evoke. So yeah, it'll, you know, and I think the game view concepts that we have released are a good. Again, it's a target. It's not a realization, but that is the kind of thing we're shooting for, is to be a fairly detailed world full of grit and complexities.
Oh, but to be clear, our goal is not to go kind of hyper real, because we couldn't sustain hyper real at the kind of budgets we're talking about. That's like, you know,
350 people.
Yeah, 350 million and a, you know, $100 million team, right? So we're always looking for kind of the right angle of stylization that gets us the evocative, emotional impact, but is within a scale that we can afford. And that's what the concepts that Mike's been working on are trying to point us towards, is that balance in stylization to get the right emotional reads.
Yeah. And for me, honestly, the right level of stylization is a great thing, right? Like, it's not a crutch, it's not a hindrance.
No.
I think that there's a trap in photorealism that actually it's pretty flat and can be uninteresting. So.
Yeah, one of the things that we've learned definitely, and Jordan and I have talked about this for years, constraints lead to creativity.
And photoreal is kind of a giant uncanny valley, right? It's once you start to go there, you go down and it actually looks like crap until you can climb out the other side, which is hundreds of millions of dollars later. And so that's why, you know, we don't.
It's a valley filled with money.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the kind
But
you
I think
pick
if you look at, like, to me, one of the great images that the team has produced, Mike self did this one, is the king crab with the tanks in front of it coming out of the mist. That is enormously evocative. It's not to me cartoony in any way. It doesn't feel at all like what we did with Shadowrun. Yet it's not exactly photoreal, but it has that a total immersion into the world, and the world feels gritty and real, which is what our goals are.
That image is epic. It is absolutely epic.
Thank you.
I love it.
It was a lot of fun.
Mike,
will.
the urban combat scene is not clickable. They're going to find the ones that aren't clickable. They want it on their
We'll
desktop.
fix that.
All right, you heard it here, guys.
Next question I have
got it.
is about other technologies and equipment in Battletech that we haven't necessarily seen brought, Myomer muscle, and what is a fusion engine, what is its impact in game, or what about actuators, or what do sensors do? Mike, can you touch on that? Is Myomer muscles or these other technologies that really have never been delved into because of the nuances of the game? Do you have any thoughts on that?
We want to go as deep as we can and still have a fun experience in the mech bay and on the battlefield. So all those are certainly options for the type of components that you'll be able to customize, including Myomers. But we just want to make sure that we know what those things add to the experience, and that there's, I think I talked about this a little bit on the last live stream, but also that we're able to present that information in layers to the players, so that you don't have to dive right in and take a look at the Myomers from day one, right?
But our goal is that for those who want to dive that deep, they can open up, the legs and get in there, and that there's actually a performance change to the mech. Now, that's in the context of wanting to keep that identity of the chassis in place, but a lot of that is very interdependent with kind of this core combat loop that we're working on now. But that is certainly our goal. We'd love to be able to get into that, because that gives you a lot more things that you have to gives you a little more dials to play with, and also, frankly, more things that as a manager of a mercenary company you've got to worry about for spending money on. You can put a guy back out on the field with Band-Aid on that actuator or on that Myomer, and it's going to have an impact on the way that mech performs on this battle, because you didn't have the money or the resources or the pieces at the time to fix them.
I think there's a way of putting it. I think that you guys would like this. That we don't want to make a fiddly game. We want to make a game that you can fiddle with.
That's elegant.
There you go.
That was great.
One
Beautiful.
thing I'll
Well
add on to this, sort of regardless of gameplay, one thing that our writing team has been fantastic with on Shadowrun, and that we also want to apply to Battletech, is just providing that extra little bit of historical information and lore detail for all these things, right? So you can look at these components and see a little text snippet, read a little bit about what that type of thing is, and I think that attention to detail that we take very seriously. To think it adds that extra layer of richness to the worlds.
Got a follow up in regards to this. It has to do with weapons in the context of, this is a top down sort of game. You're not dealing with the same possible ranges of 1,000 meters and stuff like this, or maybe you possibly are. Can you talk about the nuances of some weapon systems, like the autocannon 20 being short range, but it's the biggest caliber, and possibly just sort of gameplay? Are you guys going to adapt some things towards that, or what are your sort of thoughts on that?
Well, one of the challenges in board game design is the whole relationship between movement and range. You want both to be prominent in the game, and in the case of working on Battletech 32 years ago, 31 years ago, the trade-off I made was kind of ludicrously short ranges. Because I wanted movement to be more important, and if range got too long, and also there was just the physical constraints of balancing those on a table. So there are weapons which a good MLB pitcher could throw farther than you can shoot.
That's not the first time I've heard you say that.
So we're working on a top-down computer game, kind of places us under relatively similar constraints. One of the other things that we tried to play with in the original board game was this concept of kind of minimum range versus maximum range on weapons. That's always been really confusing to people.
Yeah, we had that in Mech Commander, and once you figured out what was going on, it was actually fun. But the transmission of the information, you had to really, grognard it out.
Yeah. So again, our goal is to be as authentic to the essence of the characters, right? So that the way that an Atlas feels should be the way in the board game, and broad strokes should be the way it feels in our game. The specifics of how we're going to handle what is the relationship between range and movement. Our goal is to, again, make that as authentic as possible, but the actual, pixel specifics may be slightly varied to be more natural to kind of what we can see on the field, what we can manage, and the core game engine. How we're going to be able to reflect movement to the previous question. If we're going to be able to, for instance, tell the difference between the actuators and the mimers and see a little bit of performance difference because of that implies a scale, a fidelity level to the movement, which then has impact on how we handle ranges as well. So it's a balancing act, and we're not far enough in it to have that balancing locked down yet, but we know what our goal is.
All right. The next question is from Fud or Food. Speaking of food, he says, has anyone asked about replays, like being able to watch skirmish that you've already played?
We've gotten that on the comments page. It's been asked once or twice. And my response there would probably be my response here, which is that's a cool feature. We can't commit to it. That's far down the road, as Mike said on our last podcast, or whatever we call this thing. Sorry, this whole internet thing I don't get yet. But we're still in pre-production. There's a lot of things to work out. We're going to be in pre-production likely through the end of the year, right? And we got to work on the core of the game first before we get down the road to stuff like that. That's a very sort of secondary feature to mech combat and how we do the customization.
But it's one of those we agree would be a nice to have.
Yeah, everything's... Oh, this is the other thing I say a lot on the comments page. Everything would be nice to have. Game development is 10 pounds of good ideas in a 5-pound bag.
2-pound bag.
Sometimes a 2-pound bag.
Sorry, guys, just grabbing the next question. This was actually in
great
regards
questions.
to...
Keep them coming.
And of course, for everyone out there, if you do have a question, make sure to tag us at NGNGTV, and we will get to it as possible. Let's see, we've got, here we go. Skyfire asks, what are the chances of a local multiplayer LAN? Even a hot seat option would be very welcome.
Oh, yeah. I've been getting that a lot in the comments, hot seat.
Well, I think if we hit our multiplayer goal, I would imagine it wouldn't be... and Chris is not in the room this time, so I can't yell, "Hey, Chris!" But I would imagine LAN, setting up for local LAN play wouldn't be problematic. So I don't.
But that's not hot seat.
This is the kind of thing that we will likely go. We'll have more conversations about. But I think the key is that, we want to try to get to stage 3, have the open-ended campaign, and then have a longer conversation about multiplayer if we're lucky enough to be pushing towards that goal.
Usually it's the young ones that are impetuous and just
And you're supposed to be cautionary.
And
not
I'm
in this company,
I'm
man.
supposed to be the older guy with the gray beard is the one. Yeah, but we're role reversal here.
Totally.
I can be.
Yeah. Down is up.
Chat is counting down to the voice acting goal. Just wanted to point that out.
Awesome.
By the dollar, it keeps going up moment by moment. This is a
I play
question,
Dagger.
right?
Well, right after this, we'll go back and take a look at our PayPal total too, and see if we've made it.
Yeah.
Dagger is inspiring the money to roll in for voice acting. This next question is from Darth Wololo, and he says, considering it's a turn-based game, would the action be divided into phases like in Battletech, move phase, attack phase, etc.?
Again, that comes back to we're prototyping a number of different ways that options for the Battlefield experience. So possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think as we said, our goal is to try to convey motion, and so we're really exploring that from several different kind of turn order structures, and we don't have a favorite yet. We've a couple of them we're prototyping a couple different directions, and we're going to see kind of over the next month or so, where those settle out.
And I will say, and I don't mean any disrespect by it, but there are some learnings to be had from MechWarrior Tactics and what they did with the two-phased approach. So, taking all that into account.
Next question we have is from 7272303. Is there a chance we could get a blog post or Q&A with Stackpole?
I'll ask him.
Yeah, he doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
Actually, he's not really working on the game at all. He's just writing those e-novellas, and if we're lucky enough to unlock those rewards for the backer missions, he'll turn those novellas into a full, fat Mike Stackpole novel.
Yeah, we should make that clear, because we really Mike has agreed and graciously to write these books with us, but he's not writing the game. Right, the game is going to be written by our in-house team, who are also incredibly hardcore BattleTech fans. Andrew and Tyler and Mike, Mitch, and myself. Mike is a very busy novelist, and he's going to be writing novels, but not the actual game. So I can't just say, hey, you're doing it, but I'll give him a call and see if we can get him lined up for one of these. Maybe we'll add that as one of our backer unlocks.
That's interesting. He would have to Skype from somewhere else. He isn't even local.
No, he lives out in the great Southwest.
All
That
right.
was general enough. I was wondering where you.
Yeah, I'm not.
His
Gonna,
address,
his address
by the way.
is no. I'm not going to go there.
All right, follow up, and this is in regards to, we get a lot of questions about the mech warriors and whether they'll have personal weapons and gear. Another question was, will there be ejections, and then what happens to the mech warrior? Is it one of those where his life or her life may still be on the line after they eject?
So again, we're talking generalities here, because for still working things out. But we won't have them with personal gears, things like sidearms, because we're never going to model what happens to them outside of the mech, right? So that part is kind of just out of scope. They're in the mech. If they have to eject, there'll probably be some abstraction to talk about, how when they return to unit, and when they return to your dropship or wherever you're based out of for that mission, and if they took damage in between, that would probably be handled in an abstraction rather, because we're not going to
Like we did
have
in
any
Commander.
gameplay. Yeah, we're not going to have any game play during that phase. But keeping these guys alive is something we want you to be focused on, because you're going to be building their skills, and so when you lose one, it's going to hurt, because you're going to get you'll hire another one in, and if he's really skilled, he's going to be really expensive, or if he's he or she is less skilled, you're going to have to invest in them to build their skills. But permadeath for mech warriors, especially in the context of the expanded campaign, is a very real thing, as well as injuries. Is what we'd love to do. Is this guy came back, or this woman came back, and they're injured, and
They have to sit out a mission.
yeah, they're going to be in hospital for X, in the sick bay or whatever, for X number of weeks or months to recuperate, and so that could put constraints on you about, you may have more mechs than you have mech warriors at the time.
All right. Got another question from Roadbeer. He wants to know, will the extended campaign include a variety of houses in the inner sphere, or focus on one?
Variety.
Yeah, our goal. I mean, to us, that's the biggest one of the bigger step ups between the current campaign that's funded and the open ended, is that the current one, by the nature of the story, is going to weave you through a preset number of houses and factions, versus the open ended one, which allows you to navigate yourself through hopefully a very wide range of the factions in the inner sphere.
I'm just trying to find a question that I saw, and it's about Star League tech and sort of Lost tech. Is the player ever going to run into that type of technology, or the possible capture or salvage of said tech?
A weapons cache or technology cache, something like that?
The Great Death, the old Star League
Absolutely.
cache.
Certainly possible.
Yeah, it's something we'd love to play with, because it was another and a rich component of this era.
You know what I love about Battletech? Just everything we talk about, there's so much history and lore to draw from. It's so many games coming out. It's the first iteration of a universe or whatever. We have 30 plus years of just all the novels, all the tape. I mean, it just blows my mind, and being able to come back to it is amazing. Sorry, I just geeked out there for a moment, but
We geek out every day.
I know, right?
We're
Next,
there. We get it.
next question is from Metric, and he wants to know, how much interaction will there be with characters from lore? Are you planning on having dialogue in the game with characters like Grayson Carlisle and Justin Allard, or will it be more of just a reference to them, an appearance here and there?
Well, one of the things that backers can do on their backer missions is actually unlock cameo appearance from historical figures from Battletech.
And that means that you will actually have conversations with them. It's not it's not like Shadowrun where those conversations are going to go on for pages, right? But you will be able to have the kind of more mission-focused conversations with them rather than philosophical conversations, and integrate them into your skirmish game, and potentially as we go into the open-ended campaign, integrate them into your campaign. Now, like someone like, Allard or the Black Widow, she's got her, they got full-time gigs, but they might team up with you for a short period of time and place themselves in your control.
All right, next question we have is from Ashandari Valar, and he says, might we see gift packages or something of the kind once the Kickstarter closes so we can help our friends get the game who maybe didn't know about it? Also, would you continue to take donations after Kickstarter is done?
So, hi. First question first. You will be able to buy additional copies of the game soon. You'll see that in an update shortly. So that's the first thing. I think that's what that question was about.
Yep.
And so we have a definitive answer for you later today. And then after the Kickstarter campaign closes, you will go into what we call Backer Kit, which is our backer management tool. And you will be able to upgrade your pledge to certain pledge levels that remain open past the campaign. And there's also a bagel fund in there if you want to drop a couple of shekels in there. We say bagel, but often it's pizza and breakfast on the weekends.
Pizza bagels.
So, I'm looking at producer Chris, who makes the breakfast for us.
There'll also be some form of PayPal available after the campaign with a curtailed set of offerings going forward.
Second chance backer?
Yeah, kind of what we call a second chance backer.
We've done that before, and people appreciate it. It's really more of a service rather than an attempt to get more funds. It's just, I was late. My boss, I didn't get paid on time. That's happened to me in the past. So I'm just trying to help out.
Not me. I didn't do that to him.
No, I work for free. That was fun.
See, that's why I didn't have to worry about paying you. Wait, I was going to say something else. Oh, yeah. And so as Mitch mentioned, we are also looking in to see if we can get the right licensing arrangement to allow us to do merchandise. And if indeed we can, then there may be different items available after the end of the Kickstarter as well. Those would be differentiated between, backer based and non-backer based. We are successful in doing that.
All right. Alexander GRC wants to know about drop ships. You've already stated no aerospace, but what about drop choices, fast burns, pirate points, pre-mission choices, having effects on the in-game mission and so forth?
Definitely the kind of stuff we're looking at.
Yeah, this is especially in the context of the expanded campaign, which is why we're excited. We're making so much progress towards that to open up those kind of options, because they have both mission impact, for what happens on the battlefield. They also have large financial impacts as well, and we'd love to be able to reflect that in the expanded campaign.
All right, guys, we're sorting through these questions. Sorry, there are a lot of repeat questions. There's some that are covered on the FAQ. I would like to point out, if you haven't checked it out yet, go to the Kickstarter page. Go to the bottom. There is frequently asked questions, so we can avoid those. Phil and I are trying to sort through here. Phil, you got another question up?
Yep. Fortune D asks, will the game have multiple of increasing difficulty settings? A very hard mode was dropped from Shadowrun Hong Kong and was very easy, if excellent, game.
Yeah, I think it's likely that we will have difficulty levels, but I think the sort of the question around difficulty becomes how is the game itself balanced and how adaptive is the game itself to your skill versus,
so it's really about the systems.
You know what I mean? Like there's a level of the game itself that can be adaptive to your skill, and then there's a level of, well, what difficulty do I want to play on? One idea we think is pretty interesting is having this not be a campaign of unbroken success necessarily, right? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Being able to fail a mission and want to continue that career or have that be a part of your story is something that we think is really interesting.
Yeah, especially in the context again of that expanded expanded campaign, we would love. I mean, failure is part of that universe, right? I mean, and being down on luck is part of being a mercenary, and so we don't want to create a situation where you feel like, well, once I like mess up one battle, it's like, hell with it, I'm gonna start all over. No, we want you to be able to like plow through that, take some lumps, figure out how you recover from it, and move forward.
It's a great design challenge.
I will say something I really want for the extended campaign is an Iron Man mode.
Oh yeah, I was going to mention that, but I was afraid you'd reach over and hit me. But I want Iron Man.
Good.
Well, now I did it.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
And I think the other thing that we have that's different in here than Shadowrun is the skirmish game, which is kind of the place where you're in complete control of how much challenge you set for yourself.
Yep.
And that is kind of, really keeps that wide open. You can keep just challenging yourself to take on more and more diverse opponents.
All right, they're pointing out that we're already at 20 backer points. It's time for another live stream.
No, I did want maybe I did have a question.
Wait, what is the next one?
It's live stream. We just
I think
unlocked
Another live?
Yeah.
We unlocked another live stream.
Yes. Well, there you go. All right, but we're not going to do it right now.
No, let's just double the length of this one.
So
we'll
for
schedule it for a week or two out from now, so that you guys have built up some more questions by then.
Yeah,
So-
that sounds fun.
clarification, someone was asking Iron Med. Can you just explain what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. It's basically where you play through without the ability to reload previous states of that playthrough. So you are stuck with the consequences of the choices you make or the missions you lose.
Hardcore mode.
You can still save, like your progress if you have to go do other things in life.
That should be another mode. Marathon hardcore.
And it comes with a catheter.
Nice.
Engineer's friend.
Noral wants to know.
That's not a stretch goal, by the way, that everybody gets catheters.
There's a
No.
There's a merchandising thing
I
that we
can't
haven't
wait till
thought
the
of.
drunk live stream.
Oh God, yeah, that's
Because this is what it's like without it.
Oh boy.
You should be scared.
Noral wants to know, we've talked about the iconic characters within the Battletech universe and the possibility of seeing them in game, but what about the return of some of the characters from past Mech Warrior and Mech Commander games, other than Dagger, who we obviously want to see again, but other characters like Longbow, Flash, Rooster, might they be making appearances?
Part of it is, I can't remember what year Mech Commander was, but this is 3025, so some of them aren't born.
But
Yeah,
maybe
like-
they have grandparents.
Yeah.
They have grandparents who,
Rooster 1.
yeah.
I'm in a minefield.
Well, that would be fine. So, for that particular game, right? All those voices were team members at Fast Interactive.
Yeah.
Most of which are still down the road.
They're at Bungie.
At Bungie or 343.
Right.
But
that could be fun.
yeah, so it'd be fun to rope them back in. So
That would be fun.
you guys put together the list. What's the wish list of returning voices, and we'll go hunt 'em. We'll see how many we can hunt down.
That's funny. Yeah, I know exactly where Rooster lives right now.
So we'll put out his address with Stackpoles.
Oh man, that would be badass.
All right, got a follow-up question. This is regards to the unseen. Guys, you've already sort of commented on the whole situation, but just to point out, PGI just released the Warhammer pre-order
that's
yesterday. Now, in regards to, we now have the Marauder, we now have the Warhammer, Catalyst is also doing this. Have you guys thought, or do you have any other comments as far as, could we potentially see some of these classic mechs in Battletech?
Mr. Weissman?
I think the answer is potential yes. We're very excited at the kind of that they took these sets of stats and history and found a new look and feel for them. And we would be totally open to embracing that, and we'll kind of see how things go over the next 6 months or so. But we would love to bring them back as well if we can figure out, see how that works with us and PGI and Catalyst.
And that's why in the FAQ it says this is not our final mech list.
Yeah.
All right, just reading through chat. I do want to point something out, guys. There's a lot of, because we're nearing that voice acting goal, very near. If not, I think we probably surpassed it with PayPal. But anyway,
because PayPal, I'm sure we've passed it if we're getting really close.
keep in mind, guys, because there's a lot of Duncan Fisher chat out there. The year is 3025, and I think that means Duncan's only like 25 years old or something like that in this timeline. So let them work out what's going to be happening with that. I know they're already talking with George behind the scenes. So we see all the Duncan Fisher call outs, and they'll get to that. Next question is from Analog Botanist. He wants to know how similar Battletech will be compared to MechWarrior 2 and MechWarrior 4 when it comes to freedom of choice between missions.
Potentially. Got some
Oh,
audio.
they're fixing our air conditioning finally.
Yay!
This is the only cool room. in the
Yeah,
office.
we call this room the cooler. This is where you come if you're about to pass out. Bring a laptop in here.
I think we have the potential to actually be more open than at least MechWarrior 4 was. I was playing that a couple of weeks ago, and I think the campaign did a really cool job. But it is ultimately a campaign. There's a choice along the way, and there's some branching, and it kind of back with the open campaign that we're hoping to do at stage 3. We want to create a very broad sort of system that allows you to simulate a mercenary career and take those kind of missions wherever you decide to travel through the procedural system that Mech 2. I don't remember exactly how open that one was.
It was more than
Mech
4.
4. Yeah,
it was.
Played that. That was a while.
Yeah, so I think our goal, kind of our bar is 2 or better. 2 mercenaries or better in terms of the openness.
We have a question from Woodenson, and he says, as someone who always wanted to play but never is able to, is there or will there be a good primer to introduce the person into the world and story, like a history, cliff notes, stuff like that?
Actually, we're working on that right now with Catalyst. Catalyst has a primer that they put together, and so they're doing some more cleanup work on it because it was an internal document for new people and stuff like that. So we're working on that, and we hope to get that on our Kickstarter page soon.
I will say for the game experience itself, that's something that is really important to me, is that fiction is amazing, and canon provides such a rich sort of depth of ideas to draw upon, but in the presentation of a game or a film or a book itself, like it's important to me that piece of storytelling and gameplay is accessible, and that's not a statement of sort of it's very informed by the world and canon and history, but it's presented in such a way that you can pick those things up in the experience and not feel immediately alienated.
You don't have to go do
by
some research before you play the game.
of capital letters. So that's kind of the philosophy we have.
We want the lore to be an asset, not a barrier to entry, right? And so we definitely, I think that's something we walked a pretty good line with the Shadowrun titles, right? They're really steeped in the world, but I think new players who come to it didn't feel like they were lost, or that there was a ton of stuff they should have read before they started playing.
I think we can do even better here, to be honest.
We can do better, yeah.
Well, that's a good.
We're going to do
we
better.
make more.
We always try to do better.
It's our
each time.
job, yeah. Because we're not dead yet.
I think that's going to be one of the exciting things about Battletech is, obviously people that have been playing it for 10, 20, 30 plus years are very excited about it. We have all the people coming back to Battletech, but it'll be fun to introduce new people to it and the younger crowd, and get people that maybe there's a barrier in other games like MWO or whatever of difficulty. This being a single player turn-based campaign to start, I think I've heard a lot of people saying, that they're excited for it because of that. I'm going to have a lot of fun introducing the next generation, including my daughter, to Battletech with this game.
My kids will be playing it.
All right.
My kids will have to. 2 of them work here.
There you go. They
I don't
have to.
kids. My cats probably won't play.
That's when you'll get the graybeard, Mike. Okay. The next question is from TCAS84. And this is for Jordan. He said, I've read in several places that if you had the chance to do the clans differently, and we know the clans aren't in this game, that you would. What would that involve? Would that be the way you would add clans to Battletech potentially in the future if this game continues and so forth?
Wow, there's a minefield of a question.
I know, right?
Yeah. So one, we,
Did Han shoot first or what?
Han shot first.
Damn right, Han.
No
You didn't
question.
need-
That's
No,
not a minefield.
That is not a
no
minefield.
minefield.
That's
Opposite
just
of a minefield.
fact.
That's right. So, I think we are not going to wrestle with clans in this game, right? As we know, that's going to be in hopefully in success. It's down the road. In terms of what was my concerns looking backwards on what we did on the tabletop board game, I think the clans were they were overpowered to the inner sphere in a way that in the fiction we
Was
could make
great.
work,
Yeah.
right? But in the board game, we didn't quite make work, right? And they became they were just
Dominant.
dominant. They were just no two questions. They were better, right, in every way, shape, and form. And some of the flaws in the balance that we introduced in fiction wasn't reflected on the tabletop. And so I think that was my concern looking back on what we did in those days. How we handle that going forward, thankfully, is a problem I don't have to worry about for a couple of years.
We're gonna kick that can down the road.
Exactly. I'm not going to worry about that one here yet.
But we have to be planning ahead. Yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you for the answer.
All right, another question we have is from TST Anubis, and he says, will the game support 4K resolution?
Oh, the
Wow.
new 4K.
Go big or go home, right?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's your definitive answer.
Yeah. It's one of those kind of like doing that and at the same time supporting older machines, opens up the breadth of machines and how the game has to perform at a pretty wide spectrum. So we don't know the answer to that yet.
Theoretically, with the right sort of framework for UI, it's pretty easy to scale up to 4K. But until I've actually looked at it in UI, I'd be hesitant to say more than that.
And then if we are lucky enough to get to multiplayer, you have to wrestle with making sure that guys who have higher resolution and thus can see more of the battlefield don't have a tactical advantage over those who have lower resolution and thus can see less. So there's a lot of layered questions in there that we're not far enough into development to have answers for.
All right. I know that we're past the official Pirate Day. That was like a month ago or 2 months ago. But Demoniki wants to know, will pirates play a role in Battletech?
I think it's safe to say somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, especially since we're starting, we've talked about how some of the initial story campaign is out in the periphery. And so there be pirates. Out there. Yeah.
All right, we have many questions about mods. Now, you guys talked about that you're not looking at doing mods, but we've got a few questions. And Vaspaz Cal asks, you said you're not doing mod support this time, remembering that mods always used to be unsupported when they started. Do you see yourselves maybe just having an eye on, say, your map file format being not too hard to figure out? This is directly from them. I don't know.
Yeah, I got that.
Well, here, I'll tell you what we don't have our eye on is trying to make our map format really hard to figure out.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we know is we can't support releasing a tool set, right? So we know that part. That in terms of kind of accessible,
File structure.
mod tools, that's within the context of what you can do to set up your skirmishes that we're releasing. But as Mike said, we're not going to go to any kind of steps to stop other people from coming up with things, abilities to create tools or go in and hand stuff. We don't know what that is yet because those file formats aren't established, but
It's a pretty good balancing act, though, I think.
yeah, we're not going to try to build something that stops people from modding.
Mitch,
That
how
would
do
be
you
a
feel
waste of
about
effort.
Mitch? How do you feel about people still modding Mech Commander today? That's still very much going on, and people still loving that title.
I still don't get this whole thing. First of all, I love it. I think that any tool that people like us can give other people to realize their own creativity is absolutely badass. And people who make should be making. And you don't need to make money on it. It's just make. That's living. It's awesome. I still don't get that people play Mech Commander. I think it's awesome. It's just an incredible feeling to find out.
Yeah.
We often host people on NGNG TV that are playing the old Mech Warrior and Mech Commander titles, and people love them to this day. It's like, yeah, that's why I'm just so happy you guys are coming home. Next question is from Cal Ryan. He wants to know, if you reach the PvP funding goal, will you be able to use combined arms in PvP?
So as we stated in the skirmish combined arms goal, we're still looking at whether that's a player controlled option or just an AI option. And so the only thing that we explicitly included there was AI. If you can player control that stuff, it stands to reason that you'd be able to do it in multiplayer as well.
Cool.
Got another question. Catcher asks, physical art book, when?
Not currently on the docket.
Not currently on the docket, but it's something I'd really love to make at some point.
Maybe Catalyst can put it out.
Yeah, it's something we can talk about with them. I think the reason we don't have it in the rewards section is because, the shipping costs on it would be high, and it's at a relatively low tier. So it just became kind of problematic in that regard. But yeah, we should talk to Catalyst and see if
Actually, another thing with regards to shipping is, we're structuring our physical stuff such that we can ship it, before we've wrapped on development. An art book, on the other hand, you kind of gotta wait till you're done with the game to have all the art to put in it. So
actually, that's
point.
that's the key point, and I'm glad Mike reminded me. Our goal is to ship the faction heraldry kits and the jackets, long before the game is done, because the game is going to take 18 months, and those things don't depend on the game being finished. The art book, on the other hand, would require the game to be finished, and so then we'd end up with kind of doing 2 ships, and that gets really prohibitive.
That's a nightmare.
And I think it's June 2016. That's the date.
That's is what we want to make sure we get that out early, because there's no reason you should wait a year and a half to get cool stuff.
All right. I think this is an important question. We were talking earlier. I think a lot of us take it for granted, the whole Battletech mech warrior universe. We've been around it for so long. I see this happen often. We know how to control mechs. We get the whole idea behind the game. But this is from Eccentric, and he says, this is a question from a big Shadowrun fan with no experience with Battletech. If I love the Shadowrun games, will I like this game?
I'd say yeah. I mean, without
We want you to.
Yeah.
We want to make games for a large audience that plays all our stuff.
But we absolutely do. I think we just have to make sure you recognize that it's going to be kind of reverse priorities.
Right.
Shadowrun was first and foremost about story, and then within that context was tactical combat. This flips that. This is first about tactical combat with a really rich story. And
not just tactical combat, but the management of your unit.
That's right.
And your mech customization of your mech.
It'll be a different experience.
Yeah, but I think it won't be. Our goal is that it's eventually no more daunting to learn to control your lance of mechs or manage your mercenary outfit than it was to manage your diverse party with shaman and riggers and all of the and deckers who have really diverse skills and diverse play patterns and their character growth. I don't think it'll be any more daunting of a learning curve than of that by any means.
No. And I'll say this on camera right now.
Here it comes. Go ahead, Shia.
I want to make sure we do a proper tutorial for Battletech.
Excellent. Yes. We love the old school tutorials.
Was one thing that unfortunately got the short end of the straw a couple times on Shadowrun.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, guys, we've been going for an hour and a half. How are you guys feeling? Do you want to wrap up with a few more questions?
Yeah,
we have to. Well, we have to make the game.
Yeah. Actually, we got to update the Kickstarter.
Yeah, we got to update the Kickstarter. Yeah.
So
we want to know where that PayPal number.
And we'll call, especially since you guys just unlocked another one. We'll be back to talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, Phil, you got one?
All right. As Bitter One asks, can certain mechs have role-specific bonuses like the Rifleman's, AA capability and stuff like that?
So this is kind of something comes to fit for us, fits in that context of having the mechs have character, which is a goal. We don't know how it's realized yet, to kind of have the quirks, kind of like character quirks that are about mechs and what they do well and what they don't do well. So it is certainly something we'd love to realize. We have ideas of how to do it yet, but it's not locked down and working. But certainly it's something we would love to see happen in And I think we have a pretty good chance of finding the right levers to make that work.
Say one other thing philosophically, we want to make sure that the Battlefield experience is not just a race to the top as far as tonnage is concerned.
Right.
Exactly.
Squad Lance composition is not, once I have access to assault mechs, all assault mechs. So we want to make sure that all
Great point.
mech roles are useful in combat, and that the game is balanced around that.
Bravo.
And to take that one step further, right, that objectives, the composition of your lance should be matched to the objectives you're trying to do, right?
Mhm.
That if you're doing a scouting mission, bringing a whole bunch of assault mechs is not going to really do very good in a scouting mission, right?
Yeah.
So that there are some missions that are going to really encourage you to take a wide variety of mechs and classes within one lance, and others that are like, encourage you
Specialty.
to specialty to create a very light, fast, lance for specific missions.
Or flexible or something like
Yeah.
that.
So just a correction, that the Steiner Scout Lance is all atlases. I mean, that is a thing. So
Yeah, but they
With the ride of the
Sounds about
Valkyries
right.
playing in the background.
come on, they follow the British model in South Africa of a reconnaissance train. Okay,
Look it up.
Yeah, that was actually where Winston Churchill first became famous, was in an incident with the reconnaissance train, which he thought was absolutely asinine.
Well, we love our Atlas Scout Lances. Okay, this next question, this guy's been extremely persistent, and I want to get his question in because he did post it like 100 times.
We want to hear it.
Yes. Now, it may be too soon. It might be too technical, but Lord Helmoir asks, I posted a rules change suggestion in the Kickstarter comments about reducing the damage of ammo explosions. Basically, the idea is to reduce the ammo
Mr.
explosions.
Weissman has again seen that.
Okay.
We were talking about your comment just earlier today.
So do you want to take it,
and-
Jordan?
I'm sorry?
I said, go ahead, take it then.
Oh, so so if I'm remembering the comment, it was about how the amount of damage done from ammo explosions, the commenter felt was much too high, and it's like, hey, if we know how to do ammo that explodes outward now, why wouldn't they know that in the future? And they do. It's called case, and it costs more to put into your mech because it takes the tonnage to support the ejection and everything else. So you can build a mech where you will not take a bunch of damage when your ammo goes up. You have to kind of give up a little either how much ammo you're taking, or give up on other parts of the mech to build that. But this is an important kind of thing we always have to keep in mind, right? This isn't, as much as we want to make it feel real, it's not real. Right?
Wait a minute, hold it.
I know, I hate to, but come on, it's time to say there's no Santa Claus. No, I mean, just so a lot of these things are walking a balance between making it feel real and having that kind of suspension of disbelief, but making it kind of have the fantasy component of that extra little oomph. It's like, in the movies, every car that rolls over explodes, right? Because
Because they're directed by Michael Bay.
Well, okay. Even ones that he doesn't do, right?
On XCOM, every single car you take cover behind is eventually going to explode together.
Because there's a point of drama around that, and so the amount of damage that you take in an ammo explosion is two things. One, it's a kind of a dramatic moment. Two, it's also a way to keep the games at a kind of reasonable length, because someone had to whittle way down through the armor to get to that point, and it accelerates the end of the game, which is what it was originally designed for in the tabletop game, was to kind of move things towards conclusion in a game, as opposed to kind of having to chase each other around and
for the final hit point.
Yeah, to get the final hit point. And so all of those things are balance points within the game. And so how much damage will ammo explosions do in this incarnation of the game? Don't have an answer for that yet. Will we try to keep them dramatic and meaningful and fun? Yes. Will we give you an alternative to reduce them, like with Case? Yes. But we don't have the specifics of the numerical balancing. I mean, we're not that far yet.
And I just want to point out to the person who asked that question, I'm sorry that I didn't respond to your question sooner. I thought I had sent it to Jordan, and then I found out later that I I don't know. I guess I didn't, but because there's so many things that go through there. But I just want you to know we take all that stuff very seriously, and I don't want to appear at all flippant about it, and I don't want you to feel like you have to keep posting again and again and again. I will, I'll get to everybody's questions, and sorry if you felt neglected.
Speaking of which, now this topic that we just brought up, there's a lot of tabletop numbers, and there's a lot of tabletop players out there that just hold dear to their heart a lot of these nuances of the tabletop and maybe the TROs. Now, you stated earlier that in the previous stream we did with you that you guys are going to have to sort of mold things depending on your game. Do you just want to sort of reiterate that as like sometimes people do get fixed on like, oh, an autocannon 20 has to do 20 damage instead of it being referred in the novels of more of a heavy autocannon or assault where it gives you that more freedom?
I mean, our goal is again to make the feel of every one of those components feel as much like they did in the tabletop as possible. Whether the numerical value of 20 translates across or not, TBD. We don't know.
20 is more of a caliber than a numerical.
Yeah, the key thing is that it should do X% more than the AC5, right? It should feel in the right stacking order. That the punching power should feel in context to each other. That all feels the same. We're not going to be dealing with rolling D6 and expressing things in a D6 bell curve arc because in a computer game that's frankly just a lot harder to kind of internalize and figure out, well, what are my chances of success? We're going to be, expressing that in a much more kind of digestible format, especially if we refer back to, being able to welcome new people to the game, whether people are coming from, a Mech Warrior PC experience or, or not being familiar with Battletech at all. If all of a sudden they're kind of being asked to think in D6 land, that's, that does create a barrier to entry to it. So again, our goal is to really authentically reproduce the kind of spirit and the your expected outcomes, but the actual particular values may be on a different scale. I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. Kind of touching base on the return of Stackpole and his fiction, which I'm super excited about. But then also tabletop and adding drama and Michael Bay. Do you know what I'm going to ask? Jordan, stack pulling. Is that going to be a thing? And what are your thoughts on stack pulling? The fusion engine exploding, damaging people. That's actually
that was in Mech Warrior 4 and in Mech Assault.
Yes.
It's just douche. The douche. Sorry, how do you feel about the douche?
The douche?
The douche.
Well, go ahead. Why don't you, for the audience, define the term for people?
Well, I don't know exactly how you what is the canon definition, but it's basically the fusion engine explodes and it's sort of wipes out everything around it. Am I correct, boys?
Yeah, pretty much.
But in lore, that wasn't the case until Stackpole sort of introduced it, and even in the TROs, it's explained in a completely different manner.
It's
and
very
that they don't go up.
in the community.
They're not nuclear.
Yeah.
They don't take out a city block, and that was one of the things. Stack
City
polling.
Block's a little strong. I mean, you saw in Mech Assault, which is not exactly the most canon of the games. That was an arcadey one, but you could take out like 4 or 5 mechs around you, and you didn't take out city blocks. And in Mech Warrior 4, we also had I wasn't on the team, but I was sitting next to them. They also had the fusion reactor explosions.
And I know this is going to sound bad, but even in the original board game, you took damage when a fusion core went up in the megahex around.
Yeah,
it,
it's a
Yes.
matter of scale, right, guys? Matter of taking out a city block.
Well, I think it also
Taking
comes
out
down
City
to just
Block doesn't sound
No.
like it would be a fun gameplay mechanic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
No, I mean, I think when a fusion core goes up, people should, guys in the immediate proximity should take damage like we did in the original board game. But we're going to not be taking out city blocks when a mech goes up.
Yeah, we should err on the side of fun.
Yeah. And that is also just too big an effect.
Yeah.
I think for the for our game, it would actually kind of make the battlefield much more unpredictable.
All right, Phil, you're gonna get the final question. We have a final amazing question from somebody.
Drum roll, please.
I know the questions are still rolling in, But like you guys pointed out, we did unlock the next live stream, so don't worry if your question doesn't get asked right now. It will be asked
We'll be
soon.
back.
It'll be back. Phil, what you got for us?
I'm looking to see if there hasn't been anything just like
Drum roll.
clearly asked just yet.
And guys, this will be up on YouTube, just like the previous meetings. You'll be able to hear
Well,
anything that you missed.
while you're asking that, let us return to a theme we want to, which is to say thank you again so much. I mean, you guys and men and women have been just so supportive of the campaign, both financially and emotionally, and sharing of your stories was fantastic. And we have some fun things that we're going to ask you to share other types of memories as we come up in the upcoming weeks. And just, we're just so excited. Every new thing we get to add to this game and that we're going to work with you on is making us totally jazzed. So we're excited and very thankful for all your support.
The Battletech and MechWarrior community is best community, and that's not to say that Shadowrun isn't awesome as well. But yes, these people are amazing.
They're great.
It turns out best, I explain this to my kids, best isn't a pyramid. You know what I mean? You can fit many angels at the top of a pin.
That is right. Hey, do you guys have, this question has been asked a few times, people in the office that play tabletop maybe, or MWO, do you have favorite factions? Is there any kind of faction warfare going on in the office?
They're too busy.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Right now, they're falling asleep at their desks. They're working so hard.
We do have a couple MWO players, and we certainly have
Yeah.
a lot of past, if not active, tabletop players.
Yeah. And of course, I'm not allowed to pick a favorite faction. So
They're all your babies.
No, exactly. My job is to view all of them as heroes, Maximilian included.
What a beautiful universe you created. Phil, you got that question?
I'm going to ask Mike something we asked Jordan last time. What is one thing that you're going to be bringing to this game that maybe necessarily is an original idea or something different that you haven't done with your previous titles?
That is a great question.
Take your time.
You gotta really think about.
We'll do an improvisational dance while he thinks.
Sure.
Beef wants to know if you'll have tiny little robots piloting giant humans. Yeah, that won't happen, huh?
Wow. There's Weissman's next game setting.
I think there was a bad Eddie Murphy movie about that.
Yes.
Wow. Pluto Nash.
Well, you could
Wow.
view Inside Out as that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but
you
that's
know.
a good.
That was good.
You shouldn't be talking. You should be thinking about your answer.
I know. So, Mike, what are you bringing that's going to be fresh to this universe? You're kind of the new kid on the block here.
Or you know what? Instead of putting you on the
Make your
spot,
mark.
he could answer on the next one too as well. You think
No,
over
no.
it,
I think the biggest thing that I want to bring to the universe is, and I've said it a lot, that sense of groundedness and just really giving everything that extra air of visual authenticity that I know that our art team can bring to it. It's a very lived-in world. It's a very fallen world, and I think it's got so many rich visual storytelling opportunities that I think it can be taken further, and we want to be the art team to take it further.
Well, I'd like to add too. You got to add. We have so much stuff to add. I have something to add to you, and I want to credit you with it too. One of the things that I think Mike really pushed for in the Shadowrun series that I believe that we delivered on was making it feel like it was also populated by people, and that helps to ground things too. They're not cartoon cutout characters. They're kind of three-dimensional. And you feel like this is how people would behave in this situation.
It was funny yesterday as we were building our little Randall imitation set.
We should have a little cardboard cutout Randall.
I was putting battle droids, and I read the back cover copy, which I haven't read in like 30 years. And it's pretty. It really goes to what Mike was saying. I will read a little bit of it. The dark ages befallen mankind, where once reigned the United Star League, 5 successor states now battle for control. War's destruction ravaged the once flourishing worlds and left them in ruins. The advancement of technology has not only ceased, but the machines and equipment of the past cannot be produced by present-day worlds. Now the succession states are fought over water. Now the succession wars are fought over water, ancient machines, and spare parts factories for control of these elements will lead to the final victory and domination of all known worlds. I mean, it was 31 years ago, so, you know, and hopefully write better now. But it really sets a tone that is, you know, a world in decline. And that's something we really want to bring out, that I think more so than we have in previous computer implementations of Battletech.
That gives me chills. I mean, I remember buying that, and I remember picking it up off the shelf. It was that Warhammer right there that just literally called me to the box, picking it up, reading everything, and then I just couldn't get enough. I mean, just, yeah, gives me chills. Thank you guys again.
Thank all of you.
Thank you guys.
This has been Q&A with Jordan Wiseman, Studio Creative Director at Hairbrain, Mitch Gittleman, Studio Manager, and Mike McCain, Co-Creative Director for Battletech. Thank you guys for taking the time. We will do another one of these because it has been unlocked, and that will be announced.
We look forward to it.
Yeah, it'd be great, guys.
We like talking to you guys.
We're scared of the drunk one, but we're,
Oh, man.
looking forward to the sober one.
Don't be scared. Just embrace it. Does that mean we're drinking too, Darren? Is that?
Oh boy. We will see.
Hell yeah. All right.
What are we getting ourselves
Everybody.
into here, guys?
Everybody. I
think
want
you have to
drunk
be drinking if
questions
you're in the
and
audience.
drunk answers. Drunk moderators, cats and dogs living together, drinking. Total
There you go.
mass hysteria.
Maybe like a drinking game type thing.
Ghost-
like every time we
Ghostbusters
say,
reference.
Like cockpit or
Grounded.
unit or,
There you
you
go.
know.
That's right.
We leave it to the community to come up with
Hey, I
that.
just wanted to add
You
one.
guys designed that game.
Yeah,
We'll play it. You designed it.
That sounds like a horrible idea. Why did I say that? One thing I just wanted to add, you know, if you're asking questions in the comment thread or online over the weekend, we are going to be trying to take at least a little bit of a weekend because you've been crunching for the last several weeks to get ready for the Kickstarter. So just to set kind of expectations, if you have a question this weekend, you know, Mitch and the community team will be sure to get to it right
He's
away.
just saying
More
because
on
we
Monday.
looked really woozy yesterday.
Yeah.
This is
Understandable.
me preemptively trying to get Mitch to sleep a little bit.
Sounds
All
like
right.
a
Well,
good
thanks
plan.
again, guys. Really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
cheers.
Thank you, and I want to thank you, send a thank you out to everybody that helped us behind the scenes. Katra, Rodian, Zoaf, Impy, thank you for the modding and the help of getting the questions out of the chat. And of course, thank you to everybody out in the channel. We had over 600 people. Totally
Nice.
appreciate you showing up and being a part of this
Absolutely.
stream.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Again,
men
it's
and women,
just-
men and women.
Yes,
Everybody.
men and
The Warriors
women.
all.
Kids and older people like myself, everybody, thank you for being a part of this wonderful audience. Again, it's a community that I just think makes this game and this universe shine. So thank you again, guys. And Phil, you want to take us out?
Yeah, just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you guys to the HBS crew. You guys are awesome. Looking forward to this. Super stoked. And of course, we're going to be sitting down again with you probably multiple times, maybe involving beer. But anyways, just want to say thank you again to everyone out there. Again, shout out to everyone that gave us a retweet. And by the way, thank you for retweeting us and spreading the word, and get as many people out there that are not aware of the Battletech Kickstarter. But yeah, I just want to say, hey, if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that follow button. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, all the things. All that information is below the stream.
Also, big thank you to HBS Klemecki. He helped us set everything up too. Thank you, Klemecki.
Yeah, shout out to Chris. And
Hey, Chris.
all
He's
right,
waving
guys.
at you.
Anyways, just want to say, have a great weekend. Be safe. Don't do anything we wouldn't do, and we'll see you on the next stream. So until next time, Mech Warriors, peace.
Peace.
There's superior fighter power.